Stephanie Arnold, age 32, perished Balzac, 1942. From Sosnowiec, Fegele Quinta, age 7, perished Warsaw, 1941. From Romania, Abba Shekta, age 43, perished Romania, 1941. From Lithuania, Berl Raudansky, age 36, perished Lithuania, 1943.
From USSR, Abram Itin, age 38, perished Germany, 1945. From Poland, Isaac Gottlieb, age 53, perished Poland, 1942. From USSR, Ronnie Lerman, age 25, perished Ukraine, 1941. From the Netherlands, Marguerite Alexander, age 49, perished Auschwitz, 1944. From Romania, David Mazur, age 30, perished Romania, 1941.
From Pitgrove, Faya Fashpan, age 5, perished Warsaw, 1944. From Hungary, Herminia Gross, age 46, perished Auschwitz, 1944. From Poland, Sarah Herring, age 52, perished Poland, 1942. From Germany, Siegfried Nussbaum, age 43, perished Poland, 1942. From France, Elise Botten, age 70, perished Auschwitz, 1943.
From Germany, Siegfried Blach, age 69, perished Czechoslovakia, 1942. From Romania, Riva Bagel, age 53, perished Romania, 1941. From Poland, Josef Fasman, age 19, perished Treblinka, 1942. From Trebisov, William Honig, age 4, perished Sachsenhausen, 1944. From Kiev, Ezia Steinberg, age 6, perished Babi Yar, 1941.
From Hungary, Irene Goldberg, age 44, perished Auschwitz, 1944. From Czechoslovakia, Morris Steinberg, age 35, perished Auschwitz, 1944. From Czechoslovakia, Otto Sternlicht, age 40, perished Treblinka, 1942. From USSR, Misha Torb, age 41, perished Odessa, Ukraine, 1941. From Riga, Gita Abramovich, age 5, perished Riga, 1941.
From Warsaw, Marek Lichtenbach, age 4, perished Sani, 1942. From Romania, Getel Gutman, age 22, perished Ukraine, USSR, 1942. From Poland, Shaul Levenstein, age 78, perished Poland, 1943. From Hungary, Jeno Ikovic, age 44, perished Auschwitz, 1944. From Hungary, Judge Nell Grossman, age 32, perished Auschwitz, 1944.
From the USSR, Shimon Brandis, age 43, perished Ukraine, 1941. From Warsaw, Hannah Salzat, age 1, perished Labescu, 1943. From the USSR, Elena Eiderman, age 47, perished Babi Yar, 1942. From Austria, Mathilda Asner, age 50, perished Minsk, Belarusia, 1942. From the USSR, Clara Feinstein, age 44, perished Ukraine, 1942.
From Bilsko, Tater Silverstein, age 5, perished Warsaw, 1943. From Austria, Hans M. Ament, age 10, perished Auschwitz, 1944. From USSR, Lee Benson, age 2, perished Minsk, 1941. From France, David Efferman, age 28, perished Auschwitz, 1942. From Romania, Miriam Bagel, age 18, perished Romania, 1941.
From Hungary, Katalin Klein, age 59, perished Auschwitz, 1944. From Poland, Wolf Spelter, age 29, perished Auschwitz, 1942. From Czechoslovakia, Sarah Lieberman, age 27, perished Auschwitz, 1944. From Poland, Israel Paste, age 32, perished Ukraine, 1942. From USSR, Lazar Rubinstein, age 42, perished Latvia, 1944.
From Czechoslovakia, Berheskowitz, age 31, perished Auschwitz, 1944. From Warsaw, Peter Rothschild, age 5, perished Treblinka, 1943. From Den Haag, Robbie van Metz, age 10, perished Auschwitz, 1943. From Bucharest, Tamara Schwartz, age 4, perished Black Sea, 1942. From Romania, Nachman Fadel, age 43, perished Romania, 1941.
From Germany, Flora Ehrlich, age 40, perished Auschwitz, 1943. From Warsaw, Yitzhak Yonish, age 8, perished Majdanek, 1942. From Germany, George Brunitzer, age 76, perished Germany, 1939. From Germany, Lois ten Brink, age 68, perished Germany, 1943.
From Warsaw, Polsha Swada, age 9, perished Warsaw, 1943. From Poland, Samuel Katz, age 57, perished Poland, 1942. From Netherlands, Esther Cohen, age 49, perished Auschwitz, 1942. From Greece, Mary Cohen, age 43, perished Auschwitz, 1943.
From Auschwitz, Hinda Makovsky, age 53, perished Auschwitz, 1943. From Lithuania, Jacob Dayan, age 30, perished Lithuania, 1941. From Netherlands, Carla Berman, age 8, perished Auschwitz, 1942. From Kabalnik, Beryl de Minstein, age 8, perished Warsaw, 1943.
From USSR, Yaakov Vertlib, age 28, perished Germany, 1945. From Hungary, Bella Engelmann, age 14, perished Auschwitz, 1944. From Poland, Fega Epstein, age 2, perished Lodz, Poland in 1941. From Poland, Benjamin Friedman, age 27, perished Leningrad, 1942.
From Poland, Benzion Abramovic, age 46, perished Auschwitz, 1943. From Poland, Ephraim Altman, age 5, perished Treblinka, 1942. From Hungary, Yodo Fedka, age 47, perished Auschwitz, 1944. From Romania, Avram Ostfeld, age 51, perished Bershad, 1942.
From Germany, Hedwig Tusch, age 25, perished, Latvia, 1941. From Poland, Stefania Polak, age 58, perished, Warsaw, 1942. From Czechoslovakia, Hinda Kirschenbaum, age 59, perished, Auschwitz, 1944. From Germany, Lena Dingfelder, age 68, perished, Czechoslovakia, 1942.
From Austria, Nathan Tripfieder, age 66, perished, Italy, 1944. From Poland, Emmanuel Bloch, age 3, perished, Treblinka, 1942. From Austria, Ernst Bach, age 62, perished, Auschwitz, 1944. From USSR, Aaron Shklar, age 73, perished, Ukraine, 1942.
From Poland, Hendel Gottlieb, age 30, perished, Rohatyn, 1942. From USSR, Gendel Feldman, age 45, perished, Minsk, USSR, 1941. From Lithuania, Israel Flat, age 22, perished, Utina, 1941. From Poland, Yankel Levenstein, age 52, perished, Germany, 1945.
Good evening, honored Rabbonim, diplomats, government officials, esteemed communal leaders, and most importantly, my fellow South African community. I would also like to specifically welcome Dr. Sharon de Kock, a violinist and academic from the University of the Free State, who has travelled from Bloemfontein to be here with us this evening, as she has a passion for remembering the Holocaust through music. We gather here tonight not only to remember, but with a sense of responsibility. I stand up here deeply aware that memory does not survive on its own. It is not something that is self-sustaining. It does not just live in history books or in monuments or within the archives. Memory lives or it fades through people, through the way that we show up for one another, through the stories that we refuse to let go of, and through the love with which we carry our past into our future. Community is how memory survives. And tonight, we are profoundly privileged. We are fortunate to have Holocaust survivors here with us, in our presence, to hear their stories, not as a distant history, but as a lived truth. In a world where denial and distortion continue to try and persist, there is nothing more powerful than testimony that is still able to be spoken and still able to be heard. But memory cannot stay contained in testimony. And so, a question comes before us. What do we become in response to what we have been given to remember? Memory endures. It endures in the stories that are passed down through generations, in the traditions that we continue to hold, and in the act of coming together in spaces such as this one. That names are still spoken, that traditions are still held, and that we are still here. And there's hope in the fact that we are still here. But that hope wasn't given to us, and nor was it easy. It was fought for, it was survived for, it was carried forward, and it was rebuilt in the aftermath of unimaginable loss, through resilience, endurance, and refusal to let everything end there. And perhaps this is the most profound form of resilience, that we are here because the others refuse to let survival end with them. And so, community is not just where memory survives. It is where love survives. It is where identity survives. And it's where a people, despite everything that they have endured, continue to choose life, continue to choose tradition, and most importantly, we continue to choose each other. Each one of us has a role in that, to speak, to listen, to remember, and to act. Because memory, it doesn't exist on its own. In fact, memory doesn't even have a voice if us, the people in this room, do not give it one. And so, it lives through us, in the way that we speak, in the way that we act, in the way that we gather. So let us continue to give memory a voice. And as we continue to fight once again, let us show the world how serious we are. Never again, no one will destroy us. Thank you.
Matzilenu, Kadosh Baruch Hu Matzilenu, B'Yadam.
Kadosh Baruch Hu Matzilenu, Matzilenu, B'Yadam. Kadosh Baruch Hu Matzilenu, Matzilenu,
From Germany, Flora Ehrlich, aged 40, perished Auschwitz 1943. From Warsaw, Yitzhak Yonish, age 8, perished Majanek 1942.
From Warsaw, Polsha Swada, age 9, perished Warsaw 1943. From Poland, Samuel Katz, age 57, perished Poland 1942.
From Auschwitz, Hinda Markowski, age 53, perished Auschwitz 1943. From Lithuania, Jacob Dayan, age 30, perished Lithuania 1941.
From USSR, Yakov Vertlieb, age 28, perished Cologne, Germany, 1945. From Hungary, Bella Engelmann, age 14, perished Auschwitz, 1944.
From Poland, Bension Avramovica, aged 46, perished Auschwitz 1943. From Poland, Ephraim Altman, aged 5, perished Treblinka 1942.
From Germany, Hedwig Teutsch, aged 25, perished Latvia 1941. From Poland, Stefana Polak, aged 58, perished Warsaw 1942.
From Austria, Nathan Trebfeder, age 66, perished Italy 1944. From Poland, Emanuel Bloch, age 3, perished Treblinka 1942.
From Poland, Hendel Gottlieb, age 30, perished Rohatyn, 1942. From USSR, Gendel Feldman, age 65, perished Minsk, USSR, 1941.
Good evening, Rabbonim, distinguished members of the diplomatic community, Mrs. Vandal Winsky, Mr. Ben Visselou, honored guests, dear friends, and members of our Jewish community. A special welcome to Commissioner Govender from the Human Rights Commission. I'd like to make special mention that this evening, for the first time, we have the Pretoria community and the Johannesburg community commemorating Yom Hashoah together. At a time when we feel that our world is so fractured, to know that we are united as one Gauteng Jewish community is very comforting. I would also like to give a very grateful thanks to Chai FM, who have been so wonderful in partnering with us on such an auspicious and important event. Chai FM is transmitting live to our community all over the country and abroad to make sure that the community has the ability to commemorate Yom Hashoah even from home. Tonight we light 6 candles, 6 million flames extinguished, 6 million names erased, 6 million families torn apart, scattered, annihilated. These were not lives lost in the fog of conflict. They were not casualties of some complicated situation. They were murdered, systematically, deliberately, because they were Jews. Yom Hashoah demands clarity, and in these present times, clarity itself has become an act of resistance. Something dangerous is unfolding across the world and here at home, something that should concern every South African who believes in justice, in history, and in the dignity of human suffering. We are witnessing the deliberate distortion of one of humanity's darkest chapters. It is being done not to honor the dead, but to weaponize them against their own descendants. Holocaust inversion is the act of comparing Jews, the victims of the Holocaust, to Nazis. It takes the most systematic, industrialized genocide in human history, and it cheapens it, instrumentalizes it, turning it into a debating tactic. Holocaust inversion has arrived at our doorstep. It has stood outside the very institutions built to remember the horrors of the Holocaust, and it has tried to turn the sacred promise of never again into a political slogan stripped of any meaning. We see protesters outside Holocaust centres in Johannesburg, Durban and Cape Town, turning them into theatres of political confrontation. We see placards that equate the Star of David with the swastika. We hear language designed not to illuminate, but to inflame. This is not protest. This is desecration. Holocaust inversion corrodes the very framework through which we understand genocide. If the Holocaust can mean anything, well then ultimately it means nothing. If every conflict is another Holocaust, then the Holocaust itself, the gas chambers, the mass graves, the trains carrying families to their deaths, becomes just another rhetorical device. And when we lose the ability to speak precisely about the worst things that human beings have done to one another, we also lose the ability to prevent them from happening again. The Holocaust was not a response to provocation. There was no conflict. Only the victims and the perpetrators, the hunters and the hunted. It was genocide, pure, premeditated, industrial. And if that simple truth now requires qualification, if it needs asterisks or context, then anti-Semitism has already gained ground we once swore we would never surrender. We also see anti-Semitism enter public debate in disguise. It presents itself as criticism, as context, as just asking questions. It begins not with violence, but with discomfort, with the slow erosion of moral certainty. And by the time it becomes obvious, it is already embedded. We are living in a time where synagogues are vandalized and we are told it is protest, where Jewish students are harassed and excluded and we are told it is solidarity, where Jewish professionals are blacklisted for insufficient denunciation of their own people and we are told it is accountability, where Holocaust centres have become fair game and we are told it is free speech. These are not new phenomena. They are the oldest hatred, but now they are dressed in new vocabulary. I quoted this at the United Nations Human Rights Council when I represented the World Jewish Congress last year, that what begins as thoughts become words, and words become actions. Dehumanization, if left unchecked, leads to the horrors of genocide. The urgency of remembrance has never been greater than it is today, precisely because living memory is fading. There was a time when survivors came into classrooms, when students could hear directly from those who endured it what it meant to be hunted simply for existing, how it felt to lose parents, siblings, children, entire family trees torn out by the roots. But today, that living testimony is disappearing, and history we know is fragile. It can be edited, reframed, distorted by algorithms in the digital echo chamber, until its lessons are lost. This is why remembrance must become firmer, not softer. Our history is not negotiable. The Holocaust is the clearest warning in human history of where unchecked hatred and systemic dehumanization lead. If that warning becomes blurred, we have not only failed the dead, but we have disarmed the living. What is most deeply concerning to me is that some of our own have joined this chorus. There's a strand of thought that tells a seductive lie, that if anti-Semitism comes from what makes us different, then maybe we should stop being so different. Maybe we should fade, become invisible, become acceptable, and then finally we will be safe. But that kind of acceptance is not acceptance at all. It is surrender. Our ancestors did not cling to life in ghettos. They didn't scratch their names into the walls of gas chambers. They did not whisper the Shema with their final breaths so that their grandchildren could fade into oblivion in order to make others feel comfortable. They endured so that we would endure, so that the chain would not be broken. We do not have the right to be the ones to break that chain. We will not bend remembrance to contemporary pressure. We will not reshape history to suit ideological fashion. And we will not allow the murder of 6 million to become a debating point or a rhetorical device. Yom Hashoah may be one of the last spaces where our fractured world can still say without qualification that this happened, it was evil, it must never be normalized, it must never be repurposed, and it must never be forgotten. We owe this clarity to the dead. We owe it to the survivors who carried impossible memories so that we would know. We owe it to our children who will inherit whatever version of history we have the courage or the cowardice to leave them. Tonight our theme is family, and family is precisely what was destroyed, name by name, household by household, generation by generation. To remember is to deny that destruction its final victory. We Jewish people live, not by fading, but by enduring, not by permission, but by right. So I ask you, tonight, light your candle not just as a gesture, light it with intention. Say the names of the murdered not just as ritual, but so that they are remembered. And when you leave here, please go back carrying not only grief, but a resolve to hold on to who we are. The dead cannot speak for themselves. That sacred obligation falls to us. Let us not fail them. Zichronam livracha. May their memories be for a blessing, and may we be worthy of that blessing.
We are now calling up our six of our survivors to light the memorial lamps. I'm going to share very briefly with you their stories. I'd like to call on Vanda Albanitska, our speaker for tonight. Vanda was a child survivor of the Warsaw Ghetto. She will share with us shortly the story of her remarkable mother, Dr. Galina Rothstein, a devoted physician who remained with her patients until she was deported to and murdered in Treblinka. Reverend Joseph Matzner was born in France in 1935, endured the fate of the hidden child. In 1940, his family fled from Strasbourg to escape the Nazi occupation and stayed in Vichy, France for a year before being forced to go into hiding in the forests. Separated from his family, Joseph had to live in hiding and the loneliness and insecurity that went with that. He stayed for 3 years in a convent and then a private Catholic family till the end of the war, when he was reunited with his family. Lionel Fliss, our speaker from last year, is one of the last living survivors of the Lassi pogrom in Romania. Just 6 years old at the time, he and his parents were among those rounded up and driven, hands raised at gunpoint through the streets to the notorious police station where the mass shootings were taking place. They survived through the intervention of an unknown army officer who responded to the pleas of Fliss's mother by removing them to the back of the queue at great risk to his own life. On the 29th of June 2022, the 81st anniversary of the massacre, he was presented with the title of Honorary Citizen of the city of Lassi, his hometown. Irene Klaas is a Warsaw ghetto survivor. Born in Lodz in Poland, she was 6 years old when the Nazis evicted the family from their house, and they were confined to the Warsaw Ghetto under terrible conditions for over 2 years. Her father, who managed to remain outside the ghetto, helped Irene escape at the time of the ghetto uprising. He subsequently disappeared. Irene was reunited with her mother, who had escaped, and they lived in hiding until liberation. Irene Feynman was 6 years old when her family were rounded up by the Nazis in Holland and sent to Westerbork transit camp, and from there to concentration camps. Her father to Buchenwald, from where he never returned, and Irene, her mother and brother Don, to Ravensbrück. Miraculously, they survived the horrendous conditions. Irene stayed out of sight when her mother went to work at Siemens as a slave laborer, while her brother was deported to the destruction section of the infamous Sachsenhausen camp. Irene and her mother were eventually rescued by the Swedish Red Cross in April 1945 and later reunited with Don in England before settling here in South Africa. Shlomo Ben Shachar was born in a ghetto in Romania in 1941. He lived there with his family until its liberation by the Red Army in 1944. As a baby and as a toddler, Shlomo suffered from lack of food, warmth, and security. He subsequently emigrated from Israel to South Africa in 1991.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight, as you gather together as a community, I join you in a moment of remembrance. On Yom Hashoah, we do more than remember, we remind. We remind ourselves and the world that the Jewish people will never forget. We remember the 6 million Jews who were murdered in the Holocaust, but we also remember their lives, their names, their families, their hopes, their faith. Because memory is not only about the past, it is responsibility we carry into the present. This day is deeply personal for me. My grandparents, Esther and Pinchas, were young when the war began. They lived under false identities, hoping to survive unnoticed. But in 1943, they were discovered, arrested, beaten, and sent to a forced labor camp. They lived through hunger, fear, and uncertainty every day, and yet they never gave up. After 6 months, they escaped. They fled to Budapest with nothing. My grandmother was pregnant with my father. She found work in a hospital under a false identity, and that decision saved her life. At the same time, my grandfather risked his life every night, entering the Budapest ghetto to help Jews escape, smuggling people out, forging documents, saving lives. My father was born in 1945 as the war ended, but survival came with unbearable loss. Their entire family were murdered. I remember asking my grandmother how she knew. She told me quietly, in 1942, family friends saw my parents and my brothers getting off the train in Auschwitz-Birkenau. That sentence has stayed with me ever since. And yet, even after everything, they chose life. They rebuilt, they came to Israel, they created a future. The story is one of many. Stories of unimaginable loss, but also of courage, dignity, and quiet heroism. And this past year has reminding us that Jewish history did not end in 1945. In the shadow of the war known as Roaring Lion, Jewish communities have once again felt fear, uncertainty, and vulnerability. Different times, but familiar echoes. And yet, so too is our response. We stand together, We remember. We refuse to disappear. Yom HaShoah is not only a memorial, it is declaration that we remember the victims, that we honor the survivors, and that we stand against anti-Semitism in every generation. I stand with you today not only as a granddaughter of survivors, but as part of a strong and living Jewish people. Our grandparents chose life. Our parents built a future, and we are their legacy. This is our answer to the Holocaust. Not silence, but voice. Not fear, but faith. Not destruction, but community. We will never forget. We will never stop telling their stories. We will never allow darkness to defeat light. And above all, we will live. Am Yisrael Chai. Thank you.
My name is Wanda Albiński. I am Polish citizen, but Jewish nature, and my mother was Halina Rothstein. I was born in Poland in May 1936. My childhood was finished when I was 3 years, because then German occupied the Poland, and we all have been like person who was worse than other, who can be killed, who can be, everything can be done with them. It was the German who started this horrible war and this horrible fighting with Jews, killing them like the animals, like the insect. And we must know this. It's not Poland. Poland from 700 years accept Jewish people, and 3.5 million live in Poland during so many years. And it was biggest quantity of Jewish people, diaspora, which was in Poland, were in Poland. Then came German, and they invent this hate for Jewish people. I don't want to know why the Jewish people didn't fight against them. They didn't have the army. They was just simple citizens. It was something unbelievable what happened in Poland, in every country which had been conquered by German. Sometimes they German kill Polish people, Jewish people in Poland, Polish people as well, during hours and hours in trenches. And it was horrible. And I will never forget this. We mustn't say it was Poland or, I don't know, Italy, but it was German, which brings this kind of hate to Jewish people, to Jewish nation. And we must remember this. I stand before you today as one of the last living witnesses of the Holocaust plan and systematic murder of Europe Jews by German and his collaborators. Yes, I stand here as a grandmother, as Polish Jew, as someone who by all logic should not be alive. I was not meant to have a life after 1942. I was meant to disappear in a train wagon, in a gas chamber, in a mass grave. That I am here today is the victory of human solidarity over hatred, and it is responsibility. A childhood that disappeared. My name is Wanda Albiska. I was born in 1936 in Kutno, small town near Warsaw, together with my twin brother Janek. I also had older brother Robert. My father, Władysław Rothstein, was an engineer who ran a chemical factory in Polish. They have been factory which first made caoutchouc, synthetic caoutchouc, who felt deeply Jew, who felt deeply Polish and deeply Jewish, and at the same time. My mother, Halina Rothstein, was a doctor who adored her children. She once said that she wanted to have 12. Our home had a big garden, fairy tales, laughter, and drama. The war ended when I was 3 years old in 1939. War comes to Kutno. When Nazi Germany, not Nazi, German, I didn't know who was a Nazi or not when I was in Poland. They were German. Invaded Poland, my mother returned to medical work at once. There were no supplies. They tore up our bed sheets to make bandages and spent her own money on medicine for the people who have been very ill. She held a dying young soldier calling for her mother, saying, "Your mother is here," and he died peacefully, not alone. Soon after, the German took our house and my father's factory. They expulsed us. We fled to Warsaw, like the armband. In late 1939, Jews were ordered to wear white armbands with a blue star of David. One small piece of cloth marked people as a target. The Germans could do whatever they want with Polish Jews. They were not just symbols of humiliation. They said, these people are less than human. They are like animal, or even worse. Anything can be done to them. This is how genocide began. Not with the gas chamber, but with the world, with labels, with lies. It was German, the conquer force, which brought this horrible ideology to all the country, to Poland, to everywhere. This is why remembering is not enough. We must be alert. We must act early. In Jewish tradition, we have single words that carry a deep command, zachor, remember. It does not mean only to look back. It means to take responsibility today. It means to act with moral courage. The Warsaw Ghetto. In November 1940, like hundreds of thousands of Jews were forced behind a wall, the Warsaw Ghetto, the largest in Europe, more than a third of the city population, crowded in small area, sealed off with barbed wire and broken glass. We live in the basement of Chester Jewish Hospital, where my mother worked. She worked especially with the children which died on the street of the ghetto, which haven't got nothing to eat. They stay sometimes 4 or 5 in one bed because it was nothing. My brother and I were always hungry. Our body was covered with sores. Our grandmother, Stefania, died of typhus. My mother treated many patients. Most could not be safe, and yet, after a long and terrible day at the hospital, she came back to us and read to us and teach us the letter, write and read. She tried to keep a small part of childhood alive. Not everyone lost their humanity. Even in the terror, some chose to help. Poles, Catholic, doctors, teachers, knowing they could be killed for helping the Jewish people. And they have been killed by Germans, not only one person, whole family who care about Jews. In summer 1942, Germany began a great deportation between July and September. About 265,000 Jews were sent from Warsaw Ghetto to Treblinka. In Warsaw, after the war, we didn't see any more Jews, and before the war, all intelligentsia, dancer, writer, doctors, journalists was Jewish in Warsaw. It was extremely big and very production intelligentsia in Poland, and without them, Poland is marred. It was so beautiful to have so many people and such a different idea and such talented people. Most of them have been killed in German camp of concentration. My mother was given a life card, a document that could have saved her. She gave it to young nurse and said, "You are young, you must live." My mother was also in 37, 35 years like this, and boarded the train with them. She knew she would die. This was not fear, it was courage, it was solidarity. We all, 4 of us, was sent to Polish part. We didn't stay all time in ghetto, but we have been sent by Polish friends to Warsaw, and every of us was in different Polish or Jewish family. But my mother said that she will stay with these which are more poorest, which nobody can save, with her patience. And with them, she went to Treblinka and was killed. Because and the light that survived, and yet my brother and I survived. We were saved by Żygota, an underground network of Poles and Jews working together to help Jews escape. Helping a Jew meant death, not only for the helper, but for the whole family. Still, people help. They were taken out to ghetto. We were taken out of the ghetto through courthouse. I was sheltered by Dr. Trojanowski and Natalia Radlinska, Catholic doctors who risked everything to protect me. Later, all four of us were brought together to Anusha House, an orphanage near the Warsaw, where we were treated with care and dignity, because we didn't have any mother, no mother and no father as well. These doctors were later honored right among the nation. I owe them my life. My mother's legacy, her life showed the best value of Jewish and Polish culture is learning, responsibility, care for others. Her death was moral choice. She left me 3 lessons. Human dignity cannot be taken away. Helping others is a form of resistance. No life is worth more than another. Today, anti-Semitism rising again. Holocaust denial spread online. People don't know what it means. I heard a lot of time. We don't know what it means, Holocaust. You know, they forget already of millions of our compatriots who have been killed in chamber of gas. Hate grows quickly. That is why we are all here tonight, because danger return and stop paying attention. Memory is not only ceremony. Memory is also the obligation, responsibility. In Judaism, when we remember the dead, we rest Kaddish. It is not prayer about death. It contains no mention of death, of mention of loss. Instead, is praise God's greatness, affirming that life and creation has meaning, even in the face of annihilation. The rabbis teach us that this is deepest purpose, not to deny grief, but to insist that grief does not have the final word. Even after the greatest losses, our tradition commands us to choose life, something the Nazis, the Germans could never destroy. But I don't know. I think that really everybody who was a murderer, who carried the whole terrible things in the concentration camp, must be punished. And I don't agree with this. Then we must say, it is nothing. I stand here at my 90 years old, and I will tell you, on 10 May, I will be celebrating my 90th birthday at the Holocaust Center here in Johannesburg, and every one of you is invited, because every birthday why was not meant to survive is an act of defiance. In my 19th years, I took Hebrew name for the first time, Shanach. Hannah is one of the great women of the Torah, a mother who prayed with such solemn, private anguish that the priest Eli mistook her grief for drunkenness. Yet her prayer was heard. The rabbis hold her up as the model of true prayer, not for performance, but the outpouring of the soul directly before God. She made a vow that if she were given a son, she would give him back to God service. She loved without condition and sacrificed without hesitation. I choose this name because it's my mother's name is in the Hebrew form. And my mother did the same. She left 4 children in the believing that it will be enough in Poland family who will take us in their homes. And she went with the poorest of poor people to Treblinka, taking them in their hand. I stand here not in this despair, but in hope, because even in the darkest time, I saw courage, I saw goodness, I saw people who refused to lose their humanity. Let us honor the victim by choosing humanity every day. Let never again be a promise we keep. Thank you. May the memory of the murderer be a blessing, and may their legacy guide us toward a more just and human world.
Ladies and gentlemen, you may remain standing for the partisan song.
Sag nicht keinmal, als du gehst im letzten Weg, wenn Himmeln bleien fast bläue Tag. Kommen wird doch unser ausgewählte Schau, es wird erbeugten unser Trott, wir seinen da. Kommen wird doch unser ausgewählte Schau, es wird erbeugten unser Trott, wir seinen da. Von Palmenland bis Land von weißen Schnee, wir kommen an mit unser Bein, mit unser Weg. Und wo gefallen ist ein Spritz von unser Blut, sprotzten weg dort unser Gore, unser Mut. Und wo gefallen ist ein Spritz von unser Blut, sprotzten weg dort unser Gore, unser Mut. Es wird die Morgensonne gilden uns dem Heim, und der Nächten wird verschwinden mitten frei. Nur heute versammeln wird die Sonne in dem Kajor, wie a Parol so geht das Lied von dort zu dort. Nur heute versammeln wird die Sonne in dem Kajor, wie a Parol so geht das Lied von dort zu dort. Geschrieben ist das Lied mit Blut und mit Blut. Sie ist nicht kein Hilf und nach Vogel läuft der frei. Das Wort davon zu wischen, fallen dicke Wehen. Das Lied gesungen mit ner Gannes in die Hände. Das Wort davon zu wischen, fallen dicke Wehen. Das Lied gesungen mit ner Gannes in die Hände. So sag nicht keinmal, lass du gehst im letzten Weg. verstellen Leute. Und wenn doch unser Gewende schon, es wird am Beuten unser Trott, wir seinen Lohn. Und wenn doch unser Gewende schon, es wird am Beuten unser Trott, wir seinen Lohn. Partisanen, Partisanen, Partisanen.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Ambassadors, rabbis, honored guests, and members of the community. It is an honor to represent the Jewish community today. I'm also a convert, and I chose this nation as my home. I'm a proud great-grandson of Righteous Among the Nations recipients, Barend and Lipke Veselua, who saved Jewish children during the Holocaust. I want to start by saying it's our responsibility as the upcoming generation and as those who are still alive to tell the stories, to continue telling the truth about what happened and why it happened, lest we are doomed to repeat the mistakes of the past. I'm going to share what my amazing and righteous great-grandparents, Lipke Veselua and also known as Lien and Barend Veselua, did for the Jewish people during the war. Our purpose in this life is to become the people that God wants us to be, so that we can serve Him fully, inspire the nations, and be part of bringing about the coming of Mashiach. In a world that stands on three pillars, Torah, prayer, and acts of loving kindness, it truly comes down to the question of what type of person you will be when the opportunity to better the world presents itself to you. Will you be a leader or a follower? Will you be inspired or be the inspiration? Will you be on the side of good or evil? Both my great-grandparents came from childhoods of challenges and difficulties, but despite the hardships and abuse they endured, they turned their inner light out into the world through the darkness and despair of that time. My great-grandmother did not have the easiest childhood. She had a very abusive upbringing, which was awful. But sometimes I believe that God gives us certain challenges in our lives in order to prepare us for a much bigger challenge later on. And I think that is what happened with her. She had to endure some kind of abuse as a child to make her strong enough for the challenges that she would face. My great-grandfather worked as a carpenter from 1932, and along the way met my great-grandmother. Despite wanting to get married, the poverty they endured made it impossible for them to marry for 5 years. On Wednesday, 6 May 1936, about 90 years ago in Utrecht, they had to get married on a Wednesday because it was free. Once war was imminent, the Dutch called up all the men, and my great-grandfather was sent to the port city of Zeeland to act as a signaller and defend it. For 5 days, fighting ensued, with Germany bombing civilian infrastructure to force the Netherlands to surrender. As a result, Germany was victorious and wanted to minimize any threat of an uprising and mutiny by the Dutch. They immediately began sending all the men to work in German factories. Those who were able to evade detection went into hiding, with my great-grandfather being one of them. He walked straight home from the port, and for the remaining years he hid underground, in farms, in his house in the attic, and under the stairs. The children knew they had to hide any evidence of his possessions, and he successfully evaded the very frequent German inspections. Some were not so lucky. My mother's grandfather, unfortunately, was caught and was shot by the Germans after being forced to dig his own grave. As time went by, it was very obvious to my great-grandparents that the Nazis were going after the Jewish people, due to all the surnames being Jewish. The children were being separated from their mothers and families were torn apart. My great-grandmother, being a mother herself, could not stand by and do nothing. So they decided to join the resistance, opening up their home and ultimately helping 9 Jewish children to safety. It was not easy. They received extra food stamps for being part of the resistance, helping sustain the household, but often it wasn't enough. Some children would stay a few weeks, others a few days, and they sheltered mostly the young. They told the resistance they would only harbor and protect children the age of their own kids, in order to avoid questioning as much as possible. Because they knew if they were caught, they would be executed. The first child saved was the daughter of a rabbi, or as she recalled, somebody who looked like a rabbi. He was told to send his child there because the family was known to be good. He was terrified, and all he could muster when he was at the door is, "Please take this child, please take this child," and then he left. She stayed only a few days, as the house was designated by the resistance as one of the first safe stops on their journey to a safer place. As time went by, the family had a sense of disruption and feared detection. So my great-grandmother instructed the resistance to send them at least one child to live with them permanently. And so they were then sent one child who was given a forced birth certificate with the surname Wesselohe. They instructed their children to call him my brother and forbade them to say anything else. And from then on, Rob Gesang became Rob Wesselohe, the twin brother of one of the sisters. Shortly after this, my great-grandparents had another child during the war. My grandfather, also Barend. Being born during the war presented many challenges, from malnutrition, and the baby nearly died. To save him, my great-grandmother was sent to live in a nearby town to improve her diet. Going with her sister along the way, they encountered problems with the German patrol, and fearing for their lives, they went into hiding overnight and were unable to return home to the children until the next day. That night, their town and their own house were bombed by Germany. But upon their return home the next morning, expected to see nothing left, they saw that God had allowed a miracle to occur. A bomb was on their porch and had not detonated. And inside, they found all the children, including Rob, huddled in a protective shield over my infant grandfather, Barend. Had the bomb exploded, the family would have been killed, 5 children, and Rob, the Jewish child. Through the war, they experienced many miracles to keep them going. Despite my great-grandfather being in hiding, both he and my great-grandmother showed incredible resilience and bravery to get through such a difficult time, surviving through fear, hunger, and loneliness, and nobody you could trust, with grace until they were reunited. This piece of history is proof that we all as individuals and the collective have the ability to change history for the good, and we can make a difference. Upon the conclusion of the war, Rob was reunited with his father, mother, brother, and sister, who were miraculously also survived. After the war, in 1955, they relocated to South Africa and built a life for themselves and their families. They built their home, established a carpentry business, and had more children, survived cancer, and built vibrant lives despite the effects of the war. On 8 April 1996, they received the award of Chasidei Umot Haolam righteous among the nations, for saving at least one Jewish life in the war. In the merit of this, they were blessed to live well into their 80s and 90s, saw the birth of 36 grandchildren and 57 great-grandchildren. And my great-grandfather also lived to see me born. As the Talmud states, whoever saves life, it is as though he had saved the entire world.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, special guests, dignitaries, and those from around the world joining us on social media for this very auspicious Yom Hashoah service. I'm Major Marcus Goldring, retired, commanding officer of 2 Locating Artillery Regiment. I matriculated from this school in 1974, and it's a great personal honor for me to be standing here before you today. I'll be reciting the Ode to the Fallen, commonly known as the Soldier's Prayer. At the conclusion of the prayer, I ask you to repeat the last verse after me. We will remember them. When you go home, tell of us and say, for your tomorrow we gave our today. Our gift was great, but you must give a greater to complete the plan. We died, now you must nobly live, to make man brother unto man. They shall grow not old as we, who are left behind, grow old. Age shall not weary them, or the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. Repeat after me, we will remember them. Thank you.
כולם קדושים אותוידים ובהם גאונים וצדיקים ארזי אלברין ואדירי התורה על ידי הצעירים הנאצים בישראל יימח שמם וזכרם בעבור שכל המספללים כאן מספללים ביד אזכורס נשמוסם בגני עדן כנפיו לעלמים ויצרי רחיים אס נשמסם עדינו נחלוסם ויונוחו בשלום המשכבם ונאמר אמן.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, ועלמא יברח עירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב, אמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולא נרמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודש שבריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תשבחתה ונחמתה דיאמירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. It is an honour for the Pretoria Council of the South African Jewish Board of Deputies to bring this closing message. This year, the international theme for Yom Hashoah is the Jewish family during the Holocaust. The family has always been the cornerstone of Jewish life and continuity. It is within the family that we transmit our traditions, our values, and our faith from generation to generation. The Friday night table, the Pesach Seder, the lighting of Hanukkah candles, these sacred rituals bind grandparents to grandchildren, weaving an unbroken chain of memory and meaning. Our sages understood that the home is a mikdash ma'at, a small sanctuary, where Jewish identity is nurtured and preserved. The strength of our people has always rested upon the strength of our families. The Holocaust sought to destroy not merely individuals, but entire family lines. It sought to sever that sacred chain forever. This year and this day marks the 83rd anniversary of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, a moment of immense courage and resistance in the face of unimaginable oppression. 6 million souls were murdered, and with them perished countless family trees. Grandparents who would never bless their grandchildren, parents torn from their children's arms, siblings separated, never to reunite. Those who survived often emerged as the sole remnants of once large families, carrying the unbearable weight of being the last witness to loved ones who had vanished. In the decades that followed, survivors struggled to rebuild what had been shattered. They married, had children, and created new families, while being haunted by the ghosts of those they had lost. The trauma echoes through generations as children and grandchildren of survivors inherit not only resilience and determination, but also the shadows of unspeakable loss. Indeed, my grandmother was an Achberg orphan, and so my family is also constructed under the heavy shade of this deep loss. When families were destroyed, the community became family. Survivors who lost everyone found new brothers and sisters among fellow survivors who understood their pain without words. Communities opened their arms to the broken and the bereaved, offering not charity but kinship. This is the deeper meaning of Kol Yisrael Aruvim Zeh Bazeh. All of Israel is responsible for one another. Here in South Africa, in Pretoria and in Johannesburg, our community has embodied this truth. We have built institutions that care for our elderly, educate our children, and protect our vulnerable. We gather not only in times of celebration, but in times of sorrow and crisis. When danger threatens, we stand together. The bond forged in our schools, and our communal organizations, these are not mere social connections. They are the ties of family. And just as the survivors rebuilt their lives by creating new families and finding family in community, so too must we strengthen these bonds today. In a world that increasingly seeks to isolate and divide us, our unity is our greatest strength. Yet, even as we draw strength from one another, we must confront an unpleasant reality. The post-World War II order has been turned upside down. Jews again, worldwide, have become an object of hatred, and worse still, targets of lethal violence in the places we once felt so protected. When we heard of the atrocious mass shooting at Bondi Beach on Hanukkah, we mourned as though we had lost our own family, because we had. When news reached us of ambulances targeted in London, of terror directed at a Jewish nursery school in Michigan, and of the many other attacks on Jewish institutions and synagogues in Western cities, we feel the pain as our own, because it is. Every Jew is targeted anywhere in the world is our brother, our sister, our child. This is what it means to be one family. Fortunately, we have been spared from such violence here in South Africa, and we are grateful for the vigilance of our community leaders and CSO who watch over us as family protects family. Their dedication reminds us that we do not stand alone, we stand together, bound by ties stronger than hatred, more enduring than those who seek to harm us. And so, it is fitting that this year, for the first time, the Pretoria community stands together with our Johannesburg family to commemorate Yom Hashoah as one. This is no small thing. It is a declaration, a statement that we're not separate communities, merely sharing a faith, but one family. The Nazis sought to isolate us, to weaken us, to pick us off one by one. They failed. Those who hate us today harbour the same hope, that we will fragment, that we will retreat into our own corners, into our ghettos, that our bonds will weaken. They too will fail. Tonight, Pretoria and Johannesburg stand shoulder to shoulder, and in doing so, we honour the 6 million who perished and the survivors who taught us that our strength lies in one another, united in memory, united in purpose, united in our determination to face the future together. Let this evening not be an ending, but a beginning. Let us build upon this unity, community to community, family to family, generation to generation. Together we remember, together we stand, together we endure. Am Yisrael Chaim.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the singing of the national anthems of South Africa and Israel.
Usisileleli Afrika, maluphakanyiswa umbonolayo, imithandazo yethu, Nkosi, sikelela thina, lusapho lwayo, lulela buluka sitshaba sa Yesu. Usibuluke, usibuluke, sitshaba sa Yesu, sitshaba sa South Africa, South Africa.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you to our friends from outside our community that have come to stand with us tonight. I just would like to also just mention that there will be a ma'ariv in the shul for anybody that would like to join, and wishing everybody safe travels home.